Good afternoon. Today I'll be discussing the next part of Unit 5, that is ceramics, followed by the other materials, which includes smart materials. So today we will be finishing with Unit 5, and from next unit we'll start. So to start with, in ceramics, we will be studying introduction or an overview of ceramics, which includes types of ceramics, some of their properties, and then the applications of ceramics. So to start with, what is ceramics? We all have come across ceramics. We have been using ceramics. We have been seeing where the ceramics have been used already. So today we will define ceramics. So ceramics, basically they are materials which are defined as those containing metallic and non-metallic elements. So ceramics basically are inorganic materials. In the previous class, that is yesterday's class, we studied about organic materials which may be having a biological origin, which may not be having a biological origin. But here, when we are studying about ceramics, it's important to know that they are non-organic. They are inorganic materials. They are not organic materials. And also, they are non-metallic. Okay, so ceramics are inorganic and non-metallic. The first ceramic material was discovered by China. We can remember that China dish, most of the dishes at most of the households will find these China dishes. So most of the ceramic are silicates, aluminates, oxides, carbides, nitrides, sulfides. So these are the modern ceramics. Earlier, in the earlier days, even during the Stone Age, ceramics were in use. And since then, ceramics have been used. Their use is not stopped anywhere. Rather, there are new developments that have happened in ceramics, and we have these new age ceramics which have silicates, aluminates, oxides, carbides, nitrides, etc. So ceramics, earlier they were used to make some utensils. They were used in the sanitary ware. So the application of ceramic has not stopped there. Okay, with all these new ceramic materials that have come into picture, the applications of ceramics have also been increasing day by day. We have ceramics which are used as lubricants also. We have ceramics which are used as fuels as well. We have a ceramic that is molybdenum disulfate, which is used as a lubricant. A ceramic that is uranium oxide, which is used as a fuel in nuclear reactors. So we also have a ceramic that is boron hydride, which is a solid propellant in rockets. So here we see that ceramics do not have their applications limited only to the domestic use, but they are also being used in many engineering, medical fields, civil construction lines. There are so many other applications of ceramics that we have seen, and these ceramics are not the old ceramics that were available, but also there are these new ceramics which have come in. So materials like abrasives, whitewares, glass, bricks, tiles, cements, concrete, refractories, insulators are all ceramics. So ceramic just does not mean the sanitary ware that we all are using at home. It also means the abrasives, glass, bricks, cement, concrete, all of these are ceramics. So one of the major outstanding property of ceramic is its stability at high temperature. Okay, stability at high temperature here means they are chemically stable even when the temperature goes on increasing. So this is one of the most important characteristic of ceramic, that even at higher temperature it can still be chemically stable, and it has the ability to withstand high temperatures as well. As compared to many metals, it has the ability to withstand high temperatures. So ceramics, they are basically solid materials which are comprising of ceramics. These are solid materials which are comprising of an inorganic compound of metal and a non-metal having ionic or a covalent bond. So this is a overview of these ceramics. Moving to the next slide. Classification of ceramics. The ceramics are basically classified into two types based on the functions and the structure of it. So we have the first classification, that is functional classification, and the second one, that is structural classification of ceramics. Functional classification, this basically indicates the industries and the industrial application of these ceramics. So we have abrasive, glass, cement, refractory, all of these are used in industries. And then we have the structural ceramics, which is classified based on the types of the structure. So when we talk about ceramics, they basically have a crystal structure. We saw the polymers, they do not have a crystal structure, they are non-crystalline, whereas ceramics, they are crystalline, they have a crystal structure. So based on that, you can classify ceramics. So in a broader sense, ceramics basically can be classified into two categories. One is functional ceramics and the other is structural. Functional, it is based on industries and their applications, and structural, it is based on structures. So structure of ceramic, coming to the structure of ceramic. As I said, ceramic are non-metals, but like metals, they have a crystal structure. And their crystal structure as compared to the metals are more complex. Okay, so here ceramics show pure ionic bonds, and they also show pure covalent bonds. And sometimes it is a combination of ionic and the covalent characteristics of those bonds. So because of these ionic bonds, the ceramics are said to be highly stable. They have a high melting point. And because of the pure covalent bonds that are present, it imparts high hardness to the ceramics, low electrical conductivity. And there is a situation wherein it can have the combination of both of these bonds. So this is about the structure of ceramic. And the different structures that are there, for example, we have the rock salt structure, then we have spinel, silicate structure. There are these different types of structures. So as for our syllabus or the discussion point of view, it is limited in overview of ceramics. We are not going in detail with respect to the different structures of a ceramic. But then there are many more different structures of ceramics which are present, and but for us, we are not going to go in much detail with the structures of these ceramics. So moving on to the last part of this unit, that is other materials. In other materials, here we are going to discuss about smart materials. So in smart materials, again, we will be studying an overview of smart materials, their applications, and to be specific, we are studying two types of smart materials. One is shape memory alloy and the other one is piezoelectric materials. So these are the two materials under smart materials that we'll be studying. There are a number of many other available smart materials, but in detail, not in detail, but an overview of only these two is what is required as per your syllabus. So to start with, smart materials. Now what are these smart materials? Smart materials basically are the new generation materials. If you compare or if you see the conventional or the structural materials, the smart materials are completely different from those, and these are the new generation materials which are basically not exactly substituting, but they have more capabilities than the conventional or the structural materials that are already in use. Okay, so smart materials are those materials that possess the ability to change their physical properties in a specific manner in response to specific stimulus input. So they are these new generation materials. They basically have an input and an output. Now what is that input? An input is a stimulus or a stimuli, and what is the output? It is change in properties. So smart materials are those which basically will respond to an external in a way that, so that is the frame about what are smart materials. Now when we talk about the stimuli, what do we mean by stimuli, or what are the external stimuli which will lead to a change in the properties of a material? So here it could be anything like temperature, pressure, any chemical change. And what will be the change in property? The change in property could be change in velocity, change in shape. Also, there can be change in stiffness. So we have these smart materials which have the ability, the capability to respond to a stimulus in a way that is there will be a change in the physical properties of a material. So the external stimuli here could be change in temperature, change in pressure, chemicals, any chemical changes, electrical changes that are there. So as a response to this input of change in all of these, could be a change in property which results in change in the change in velocity, the shape, the stiffness of the material. So smart materials basically are those materials that possess the ability to change their physical properties in a specific manner in response to specific stimuli input. So the stimuli could be pressure, temperature, electrical and magnetic fields, chemical, nuclear radiations, etc. Any of these could be smart materials, as a result of which the associated changeable properties could be shape, stiffness, viscosity, damping, etc. So what makes a smart material smart? Okay, so basically it has the memory. Okay, these are some of the capabilities of the smart material, what makes it smart. So the smartness of these materials, it is described by its self-adaptability, self-sensing ability, memory of it, multifunctionality. So all of these things basically are making a smart material smart. And other than that, what makes the functioning or the working of smart materials possible, or in other words, what is the structure of a smart material? So as you can see it here, a smart material, it is basically made up of sensors, a control mechanism and actuators. So it consists of sensors, control mechanisms and actuators. So whenever there is an external stimuli that you can see here, whenever there is an external stimuli, it is sensed by a sensor. The sensor then sends the signal to the control mechanism, and then the control mechanism basically gives a signal to the actuator. Until that stimulus is there on that particular material, the smart material will change its property. Once that stimulus is removed, it will again go back to its origin. So this is about smart materials and the structure of it, or the constituents of a smart material which make it possible to be smart, to work smartly. It is because it has these sensors. It has this inbuilt sensors, control mechanism and actuators. So the sensors are sending signals to the control mechanism actuators. So for example, we have a consider a human body. Suppose a skin, it is going to sense. The sense is then going to go to your brain, which is parts of the, like for example, hand, which will act as an actuator as to what this hand has to do. Suppose if there is a pinch, your skin senses it. It immediately sends signals to your brain, which is again a then tell your hand to remove your hand so that you don't have to get that pinch. And as soon as that external stimuli is removed, it again goes back to its original conditions. So that's how even the smart materials are working. Smart materials basically can be classified into two types: active smart materials and passive smart materials. So those are not, but let us see what are these active smart materials. So active smart materials basically possess the capability of modifying their geometric and material properties under the application of electrical, thermal or magnetic fields thereby acquiring an inherent capacity to transduce energy. So I'll repeat again. Active smart materials, they possess a capability to modify the geometry and material properties of a material under the application of electrical, thermal or magnetic fields, thereby acquiring an inherent capacity to transduce energy. So this is about active smart materials. Passive are called as passive smart materials. But as in active smart materials, they have the capacity to transduce energy, whereas in passive smart materials, they do not have the capability to transduce energy. They can only act as sensors, but they cannot act as an actuator or a transducer. Whereas the active smart materials are those which behave as transducers. Passive will not behave as actuators, they are just going to be the sensors. So example of active smart materials are piezoelectric materials, magnetostrictive materials, and shape memory alloys, etc. Example of passive materials are fiber optic cables. So here active smart materials, they can be used as post transducers and actuators, whereas passive smart materials, they can only act as sensors and not as any actuators or transducers. So these are the two types of smart materials that are there, active and under which under these, that is piezoelectric and shape memory alloy. So these two materials basically fall under the category of active smart materials. Now moving on to the last bit of smart materials, that is the different types of smart materials. Here is a list of smart materials that has been put on the slide. That is a piezoelectric material, thermo-responsive material, which is also called as a shape memory alloy or a memory alloy. Next is pH sensitive material, chromogenic material, polymer gel, magnetostrictive material. So these are the different types of smart materials which are available. The first two, that is piezoelectric material and thermo-responsive material or the shape memory alloy, I will be discussing these two later because this has to be discussed a little. Whereas the other four, that is pH sensitive, chromogenic, polymer gel and magnetostrictive, I'll just talk about these four smart materials before going to the first two. So when it comes to pH sensitive material, what do we mean by this pH sensitive material? This is a material which is going to respond to the change in acidic level. Okay, so whenever there is a change, excuse me, whenever there is a change in acidic level, you will see that the properties of the material will change. So it is a pH sensitive. And its application in paint. We come up with a paint which has pH sensitivity. So whenever the paint is applied to the metal starts getting corroded, there is this the change in color of the paint which okay, there is this corrosion of the metal happening inside, and therefore it is going to respond as a change in color. An example for pH sensitive materials can be used even in paints. Change the color whenever there is a corrosion of the metal inside the wall happens. Next is a chromogenic material. Chromogenic material, example for chromogenic material is LCD. That is basically it has a change in color, that material basically changes its color whenever there is a change in electrical, thermal or magnetic fields. Okay, so chromogenic materials are those which will change color whenever there is a change in electrical, magnetic and Yeah. The materials change color as a response to electrical, optical and thermal changes, not magnetic changes. Magnetic changes could be considered for the last type of material that is there. So in chromogenic, there is a change in color whenever there are changes in electrical, optical and thermal input. Okay. Next comes is the polymer gel. Polymer gel basically has the ability to swell or shrink with change in the pH levels or change in temperature. So polymer gel is one with respect to the change in pH level or change in the temperatures. Coming to the last one, that is magnetostrictive material. Magnetostrictive material is that which is going to change its color with respect to the change in magnetic field. Okay, so this is only with respect to magnetic field, there will be change, whereas with any other electric and all. So magnetostrictive materials are those which will change their colors or their properties with change in magnetic field. Now moving on to the first two, that is piezoelectric and shape memory alloys. Now what are these shape memory alloys? Shape memory alloys basically are smart materials. They are active smart materials. And these are the materials they will again go back to their smart material is one which gets deformed, and on application of so shape memory alloy is an alloy that can be deformed when cold, but it will return to its pre-deformed shape when it is heated. There are two most prevalent shape memory alloys, and they are copper aluminum nickel and nickel titanium. There are many other combinations, copper, there is there is ion. These combinations are also possible. Basically, those combination of shape memory alloys are relatively cheaper as compared to the nickel titanium, which is relatively expensive one. But then it has some benefits. Therefore, that is more preferred, though it is expensive. We can have a combination of zinc, copper, gold, and iron instead of these. That is also possible. But because nickel titanium shape memory alloys, they are having better stability and practicabilities, and they have superior thermomechanical properties, and therefore they are more preferred as compared to the different types of alloys that are available or that are possible. So before moving to the next, that is piezoelectric material, I will just show you a video on the shape memory alloys. So here you can see a spring which is in its normal condition. You can say it is not, but it's in its normal condition. This spring is now deformed. You can see this spring is completely deformed. Now when it is heated, you can see there is this source through which there is heat applied. There is a blower. You can see the spring get back to its pre-deformed condition. So we saw in that video that shape memory alloys, whenever they are deformed and when they are in the normal room temperature or in the cold environment, they get deformed, but whenever there is heat applied to it, they go back to their pre-deformed or to their original shape. Last one is the piezoelectric materials. Piezoelectric materials are materials that have the ability to generate internal electrical charge from applied mechanical stress. So piezoelectric materials, they basically have the generate internal electrical charges whenever there is a mechanical stress applied to it. Okay, so that is called as the piezoelectric effect. And the inverse piezoelectric effect is also possible. So a material which has the capability of piezoelectric effect is also capable of reverse or inverse piezoelectric effect. What do we mean by this reverse piezoelectric effect? That is one which is going to, it has the ability to basically generate these mechanical stresses whenever there are these electrical charges applied to it. It goes in the other way. Okay, so that is inverse piezoelectric effect. There are some piezoelectric materials which are naturally available. We have bone, we have crystals, we have DNA, silk, etc. So these are the different piezoelectric materials that are available. So I'll quickly show a video on piezoelectric materials. So here you can see there is this external mechanical stress that is applied to the material, as a result of which there is a change in internal electrical energy. So this is an example for piezoelectric material where you have external mechanical force or the mechanical stress that is applied to the material, as a result of which you will see there is an internal change in electrical energy. Also the reverse of it is possible, which we call it as the inverse piezoelectric effect. So these smart materials basically find applications in aerospace industries, building, automotives, biomedicals, robotics, dentistry, etc. When it comes to the smart materials, it has applications in the following fields. So the applications of smart materials is a very important topic. There is a wide area in which smart materials can be used and they find their applications. Basically, the smart materials, as we saw the shape memory alloys, they are all self-repairing ability of a material is required. We can go for these smart materials. Also, they are used in defense and space, wherever they have to recover these automobile aircraft parts and all in case of damage. In those situations also these smart materials are used. Then we have them used in nuclear industries, again as a safety enhancement material. These are used. These are used in structural engineering in order to evaluate their durability. So whenever you have smart materials used in civil engineering or some construction sites, because of their smart materials, they can help you understand the durability. I also gave an example of paints that can be used whenever a still inside a wall is getting corroded. That these the pH sensitive material, which is again a material that can start changing its color, and that's when you understand that okay, fine, it's time for some maintenance, or the signal of the danger ahead, because These are some of the applications of smart material. Also, it can be used for biomedical applications, like we have heard of that are used during some surgeries where we have these some heart problems. That time stands used. It is used in dentistry. Okay, you use these smart materials. Next, it can also be helpful in reducing waste. One of the very important application of smart material is in reducing waste. Now, who is that? When it comes in reducing waste, we can talk about the electronic waste. We have these, nowadays, one of the major concern is this electronic waste. This is, first of all, electronic waste. Whenever it comes to, doing away with this electronic waste, involved. Instead, if we start using smart material, have a personal computer, and you have these smart material boards that. So after, say, they will be reacting to a certain temperature. When you start heating that, once you, those bolts are going to loosen them. Will be losing themselves, and as a result of which the complete PC will disable itself on its own. So that is one way in which you can actually do away with these cost, a lot of time consuming activities with the, so that is one thing. And then yes, in health industry also you have the use of smart material. It can be used as biosensors which are made from, they used to check level. This blood sugar level is checked. It will be then small pump, which is going to pump the required quantity. This is one of the aspect to this. We have seen what are smart materials. In smart materials, we have basically seen what are shape memory alloys and also piezoelectric materials, to be specific, and then the applications of smart materials. So here we will stop. This completes the unit 5. The unit 4 will be discussed in tomorrow's class. There is yet another video wherein you can see this a smart material which is shape memory alloy. You can see a spectacle which is getting hammered, but it does not get deformed in any way. So this is it in the unit number 5.